And welcome back to Lantern Corps video. Today from, who came in this morning again? It was, one second, from Phantom Shadow, I believe. Phantom Shadow asked the question, what is Raimundo, or Raimundo, from Xiaolin Showdown's Lantern Corps? Raimundo was basically the Dragon and the Wind trainee from the Xiaolin Showdown show, ultimately becoming the leader of the group. And he was probably my favorite of the four. I think a lot of us liked Raimundo. But as such, he's a teenage, I believe he's, is he Puerto Rican or Mexican? I'm not trying to, I can't remember. I know he was in that general area. I think he's Mexican, because I know the color of his shirt kind of represents. I think he's Mexican, because that's I believe the Mexican flag. Am I right? Orange, green, and white. Anyway, yeah, and he was just a cool character. I liked him. So, and I'll probably eventually get through all like the main characters, like Kimiko, Clay, and Omi. I'll probably get to all of them too. But let's talk about Raimundo. What do I think is the Lantern Corps of this character? Raimundo's a kind of weird character. He's a teen, so we got to take that into consideration about like how he kind of presents himself and the things he's feeling. So there's that to be taken into consideration. A couple we should get out of the way right now is he's not a Black Lantern, neither dead nor has died, nor is he in the embodiment of death. Another one I want to get out of the way right now is fear. I don't think he's a good representation of fear because I don't think he really embodies it. He doesn't really scare anyone to the point where he could definitely be a Yellow Lantern. He's not like Batman. He's not a Scarecrow. He's not like a Wolverine, or he's not, or I don't know, even a Goku in theory. He's not someone who has power and an attitude and a way they carry themselves that would be dangerous enough to, or that would be dangerous enough or scary enough to be a Yellow Lantern. So let's start talking about some of the ones I think he can be. I think one of the obvious ones on the list has to be Lanticore of Will. They're like the main characters of the show. All of them theoretically could be willpower lanterns. But again, one of the big things about being a Lantern of Will is to be able to overcome great fear. And there are literal episodes where Raimundo has to overcome his fears. There's a episode specifically about that. And he had to do it. And not only that, he has great willpower enough to become, the leader of the group by the end of the original series. So Will obviously has to be on there. I think we also have to take into consideration, mind you, not saying it's the actual one, Rage. Rage is one where Raimundo, because he is a teen, does have a lot of angst to him. He's probably the angstiest of the three, and he's probably the one who is quickest to anger and a little bit of... it's best described, he's the one with the darkest side to him. When the staff of John, when Monk John or Monk Yachts or whatever it is, the famous monk basically uses him to get to Hannibal Bean. He explains that he needed someone who basically was a bit more street savvy, street smart, who had a bit more darkness and edge to him. There's a reason he's the only one of the group who actually did go to the dark side for a little bit. He did join the villains for a while. And this was all because, he felt he wasn't getting his due. He felt he wasn't being treated with respect. And Omi was being a prick without realizing it. I love Omi. I liked all the characters, and I love Omi. And I think part of that is because he is an ass. Like, Omi has an extremely big ego. And he rubs that in their noses sometimes, but without even intending to. So yeah, Raimundo, I think at times could have been a Red Lantern. As the series progressed though, and as he clearly matured, Red Lantern kind of went off the table. But I don't think that is, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. I think really it's all about how you look at him during his time period. Because, for example, let's look at Naruto briefly as an example of this, because I do bring this up in the Naruto Lantern Corps video. Naruto is not a Rage Lantern, obviously. He's not. But and throughout most of the series, he's probably not a Rage Lantern. But there are definitely moments where he could have been a Rage Lantern. Moments that he was clearly driven and blinded by some of his own rage. So certainly, it's on the table. But only in certain circumstances during certain times of his life. I do not think Raimundo is a love lantern. He's not a Star Sapphire. There's nothing to say that anything he does is driven by or motivated by love. And if it is, there's no indication of who it's for. Does he have a thing for Kimiko, another girl? Hell, is he gay? I mean, at that time, at that time period, I'm sure they would depict Raimundo. I think they've even depicted him as like, no, he's interested in girls. Anyway, I mean, hey, look, be progressive. Why not? You could have been progressive WB. You could have. But yeah, I don't see that for it's love. I just think is not on the table. Compassion is another one where it doesn't work because he certainly has it, but I don't think it's his dominant feature. And because of that, I think he just can't be a lantern of compassion. A lantern, though, and this is actually one where we're similar to Red, of greed. Not throughout the majority of the series, but I want to say throughout, again, the time he goes kind of over to the dark side when he joins Wuya. I will say during that time frame for a little bit, he might have been able to qualify for a Orange Lantern ring. I say might because he seemed content with what he had, but at the same time he wasn't satisfied. And the reason he wasn't satisfied is because he wanted his friends back. But at the same time, had an Orange Lantern ring come towards him where he still wasn't satisfied, he might have been able to obtain one. The only problem is there's only ever one Orange Lantern ring at any one time. That's actually not necessarily true. And I believe the War of the Light, Larfleeze was forced to send out a couple Orange Lantern rings to a couple individuals. Lex Luthor was one of them who got an Orange Lantern ring. But the whole idea of an Orange Lantern ring is it's greed, it's avarice. Therefore, the more you give out, more of the rings you give out, the weaker the core actually is as a whole. There can only ever be, not true, there can never only be, but there should only ever be one Orange Lantern to maximize the power. That's why Larfleeze is such a powerful lantern. That's why the one Orange Lantern is so dangerous and can easily go toe-to-toe with heavy hitters of any Lantern Corps. The only ones who can really do anything is like Blue Lanterns can nullify an Orange Ring's effects. Same with, I believe, Star Sapphires too. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. Should note, I'll save Life for last. Life is a weird one to talk about, but the last ring I think he could qualify for is Hope. I mean, Hope is certainly, when you are the leader, you have to instill hope. You have to, motivate and inspire your teammates. And Raimundo, especially as the time went on, definitely they had to put more and more faith in him until ultimately, he's the one who became leader. When you look at those alternate scenarios with Omi too, basically their tests, which was ultimately everyone's test, Omi being a dumbass. It was Raimundo in every one of those who actually was helping out and saving the day, like really pulling the weight. Particularly in the final one where Omi almost doesn't make it until Raimundo basically goes goes ham on all like three of them. I think it's Jack, Wuya, and Chase Young. Like he just suddenly goes, yeah, and just starts quickly beats the crap out of them. So I think Hope is a possibility as well. The last one, technically two. I didn't even think about this one, but I guess it can qualify for Raimundo. The last two we should go over is Life. And let's talk about Life first. Life is a very odd one. Technically speaking, any one of them could be a White Lantern simply by living, but also by experiencing and enjoying life. And of the four of them, Raimundo, however you pronounce it, Raimundo does seem to do that a bit more, although Kimiko probably does it at least equal to him. But it's not just about living life to the fullest and all that. Being alive. You have to harness and nurture and embrace the growth of life as well. You have to be the embodiment of life. And I don't think Raimundo, even as the leader of the Xiaolin Temple or at least the group, I don't think he is. I don't think he really can personify life, at least on that level. There might be a small hope he could be a White Lantern, but ultimately, no, I don't think so. Then there's the one I don't talk about very often, is the Ultraviolet Lanterns. Now, again, it's never been proven what the emotional spectrum for them is, but it is implied to be shame. And it's also a parasitic. You want to talk about parasitic? This is a parasitic, like robs you of all individuality. You're basically part of a hive mind again, which is controlled by the living planet, which is basically the source of the ultraviolet light. So yeah, that's a little effed up. But shame is one where, yeah, Raimundo's had some shame this time. He's been very ashamed of himself, especially his actions, particularly when it came to the whole Wuya thing. But this is also one of those lantern rings that I feel like it's situational. Raimundo, as he grew to, own up to his faults and kind of just mature, ultimately, again, becoming the leader. So neither of those, I think, are very good fits overall for him. So, with that said, is it hope? Is it greed? Is it rage? Or is it will? Which one of these today on Jeopardy? But no, which one of these do I think is the most likely? I think in the fourth place spot is probably orange. It was only a finite period of time where he would have been an Orange Lantern if he were an Orange Lantern. So I think that's pretty much a no-go. Then we have green. Green's, I think, a good bet, but we also have red. We also have rage and hope. I think rage there we go. I think rage probably comes in the number 3 spot, because he's definitely harbored more anger and resentment than greed more often in the series throughout. But again, it's something he learns to control and harness and just uses it to its own effect. So while rage probably fits a bit stronger than greed, certainly, I think it's still a runner-up here. So that leaves us now with basically hope and will. Shocker, these two always seem to be big ones for like main characters, leaders, heroes, all that. It sucks. I mean, a little bit for those of us who want some variety, but at the same time, you can't argue with the facts, the subjective facts. But you know what I mean. So what is it? Is he more of the kind to instill hope and inspire, or is it that he's someone who has overcome a great deal and has a tremendous willpower and overcome great fear? So is it the hope you instill, or the will that you've grown over the time? For me, between the two, I am probably going to have to go with Green Lantern Ring. I think it just makes more sense. People do place their faith in him, and he did become the leader, but I think when we look at that, we have to understand that all that really happened in putting a lot more and more faith in him didn't happen until much closer to the end of the series, so we haven't seen a lot of it throughout the series. Also, or enough of it, I should say. Also, it's a two-way street when it comes to Lanticore of Will, or hope, I should say. It's not just about the faith and hope people place in you. It's about the faith and hope you have in yourself. If you lose faith, if you lose hope, the ring responds to that. If you suddenly just lose all the will to do anything, a will lantern ring will not work. If you suddenly lose your rage, well, the red lanterns are a bit more complicated in that sense. They actually replace your freaking heart. But you know what I mean. If you lose love, a Star Sapphire ring will leave you. If you lose the inability to instill fear, if someone's not afraid of you, I have to believe that the mass amount of people, in theory, if everyone who's afraid of you or is capable of being afraid of you stops being afraid of you, then in theory a yellow ring would leave its wielder as well. Just find a new host. So ultimately, yeah, I can't say hope really works, because Raimundo's definitely lost faith a couple times. I mean, hell, he went over to the villain side for a while, so he's shown that his faith can waver. Now, maybe by the end of the series that's changed, but as it stands, if we're talking about by the end of the series, which we kind of are, I will say he's probably more likely a Will Lantern than anything else, a Green Lantern of Will. So that color scheme goes well with the wind aspect of him, definitely, because wind usually kind of gets depicted as a white-greenish color in medium. So, yeah, I mean, that works out well for him. Anyway, I digress, though. What do you think Raimundo's Lantern Corps should be? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you folks for the next one. Have a good one.